the RTL Football Podcast, now live on Twitch and on YouTube at 8 p.m. UK time on Thursdays.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello, people. Welcome along to the Road to Legends podcast. You've got a new host. We've got a new host for one night only for episode number 49. I am TaylorMade Gaming, aka Spencer Taylor. We have got a lot to talk about tonight. The weekend's Premier League games, Bournemouth and the Bielsa rumours, and there's a little bit of a little news story going around today about a certain Portuguese guy wanting out of a little club from Manchester. It is, of course, that Ronaldo interview with that honourable human being, Piers Morgan. Of course, that is coming out later this week, but we have all seen the clips, we've all seen the quotes. It's time to talk about that in a little bit. But just before we do get into all of that, I want to introduce to you my co-guests and our special guest for tonight. First up, FM King. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Thank you. Good, mate. Glad to hear it. Crazy Boom. How are you feeling, mate?
I'm good, mate, until your comment about the small club.
Had to be done.
Not having that,
and our special guest for tonight, he is a Bournemouth fan. He is one of the 3 Bournemouth fans. So we have managed to find him and drag him on for today, especially to talk about Bielsa. Bielsa might get you one extra fan, so you might be able to get a quartet of fans, but it is the one and only Magnus. Thank you very much for jumping on, fella. How are you?
I'm brilliant. Me and my 3 mates, we love going to Dean Court. Absolutely love it.
I bet you do, mate. I bet you do. And so, yep, that is all of us here for tonight. If any of you guys have got any comments for us, please do whack them in the comments, either on Twitch or YouTube. This is also going to be going over on Spotify and all of that good stuff in the next couple of days. So if you are listening on the audio and we've got some comments from the chat, now you know why. And so, shall we get straight into it, straight into the weekend's Premier League games? And the first one was the shocking result. At least I thought it was a shocking result up at the Etihad. Manchester City 1, Erling Haaland none, and Brentford 2. Ivan Toney getting a double, especially and with the goal right at the end. And so 2 things really I want to talk about this game. Were Brentford just very good, or were Man City poor? And has Southgate made a massive mistake not picking Ivan Toney? So who wants to go first and talk about that game?
I'll start, means there's nobody else wants to go in first. I think Man City went and played out their normal possession game, creating a lot of chances. But I think Brentford went there with a game plan. They were never going to control possession, but they defended well. They created a fair few chances as well for a team travelling to the Etihad. And they did pull off a great result. That was their first win in 6 games, so it's very good. And I do think, in answer to your question, yeah, Ivan Toney should have gone to the World Cup. Quality penalty taker for a knockout tournament. Somebody I think should have been there. And I think he's proved why.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, especially for the penalties, because we all know it's England. We're getting penalties at some point, maybe even against America in the group stage. I can somehow see that game going to penalties somehow, knowing our luck in World Cups and what Euros and all that fun stuff. So yeah, so a penalty taker would be nice, but I guess Southgate's thinking maybe Harry Kane, maybe someone else for penalties. I don't know, but
I think Brentford showed how to beat Man City. For teams like that, I think they had a game plan, and other teams will now try and use that at the Etihad against City, and even like in their own grounds against them, because they've had the game plan. They had exploited their weaknesses. Like City were all going gung-ho for a winner, and then the last goal just came out against, it was all City, and then suddenly Ivan Toney's running in behind with no one on him out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that
yes,
is. Yeah,
as you could,
gone.
for people listening and stuff, I have an Ireland flag behind me. I have no love for England, but I will say it is a mistake to not bring Ivan Tony to the thing, and I'm glad he's not going because I don't.
Yeah,
Have been
yeah,
going, and he
it
sent a
is.
message to Gareth Southgate with
He
those 2 goals.
he really he really did. I can't believe he's not going. I can't believe it. But because he's got like 10 goals this season, I think I saw them say on Match of the Day. So how has that not got him in the team? But it hasn't. And so anyway, Sam, did you see that game, or did you see the
Yeah, well,
highlights
I
or
think
anything?
Brentford were brilliant at getting back to front really quickly and having runners on Tony. So they were catching Man City when they had their wing backs high and wide. There was obviously Man City, they only leave 2 back, and they were able. David Raya, because he's a brilliant distributor, was able just to go long. And the runners of Brentford, because they'd go long to Tony and they'd get about 4 around him by the time it got to his head for the either nod down or flick on. And I think most teams in the league just can't do that. They don't have an Ivan Tony to go long to. They don't have David Raya to kick it to Tony. And they don't have the runners that Brentford do. So I don't think there is a game plan still for most teams.
I think just before we end on this one as well, Brentford only had 10 shots but 8 on target, whereas Man City, I think, had 29 but only had 6 on target. I think Brentford created 4 clear-cut chances to Man City's 1. So Man City were very wasteful, whereas Brentford were very clinical as well.
Yeah, I think, and I think from what I saw of the highlights, I only saw the highlights on Match of the Day, but from what I saw, Man City weren't getting the ball into the box as quick as what they usually do. There was a couple of chances where they could have crossed the ball into Haaland quicker, and they just took a couple too many touches before getting the ball into the box. But Brentford did do very well against Haaland. From what I saw, they kept him quiet. They did a very good job of always having a man on him at every opportunity. So from what I saw, it did look like a very good performance from Brentford, and it is one I'm happy with because, gone.
Speaking of Holland, did you guys see like the Aston United non-league club sent a 28-day
saw that today.
loan offer for all? They're waiting on a response for City, so we'll see what they say.
Something tells me they might be waiting a while.
We'll see.
But I would love it. That would be an FM experiment come to life.
Exactly.
I put Haaland in non-league for a month. This is what happened. That would be incredible. I would love to see that. But anyway, that is our first game done for today. Next up on my sheet is a shocking result. Liverpool actually getting a victory. Liverpool 3, Southampton 1. How bad have Southampton got to be to lose to Liverpool based on their recent form? But yeah, Liverpool 3, Southampton 1. I've not seen too much of this game, but it's a good result for Liverpool. Keeps them in and around the Champions League places. And so yeah. Anybody else want to jump in on that one first?
And Darwin Núñez coming to form goal scoring wise in the last 2 games. Like, we might see him in the second half of the season actually become the player that Liverpool fans thought they were getting, because he has not been that. Poor with Southampton, their defensive line is just leaking goals and poor Gavin Bazunu, the Irish goalkeeper, has to keep picking the ball out of his net. I feel bad for him, but he's not being helped at all by their defending. I've seen Southampton in a few games this season, and it's way too open. So I saw him against Man City before that, and if it wasn't for some of the saves the goalkeeper made, that would have been 10-0 to Man City, and they have goal scorers like James Ward-Prowse that usually gets them back into games sometimes, but you can't rely on people like just one person to be winning you a match.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Anybody else see that game?
Yeah, I think interestingly, was it Southampton? They started with a 3 at the back or a 5 at the back, whichever way you want to call it. And that's actually where they looked their poorest. They went to the 4-3-3 in that second half. And they actually created quite a few chances. I think they gave up one big chance in that second half, off the top of my head. But was it? They were a lot better switching to that 4-3-3 in the second half. I think that's interesting from a Southampton point of view.
What's everyone's opinion on Nathan Jones?
I was going to ask
The
that.
man there.
Well, I think he's got a big
step
job on
up
his
for him.
hands. He's only ever really done well at Luton, hasn't he? He got
Yeah.
when he was doing his first stint at Luton, he got a move to Stoke that didn't work out, and then went back and he's done well at Luton. So it's going to be good to see how he does at another team. I think Southampton generally this season have just been very poor. Last 6 games they've only managed to win one, which was away at Bournemouth. I think last 6 games, all competitions for Liverpool, they might be starting to hit a bit of form. Won 4, drew 1 and lost 1. So they did create a fair few chances. At Anfield, you expect Liverpool to beat Southampton at home, wouldn't you?
Easily. Yep. All right, and so now next game on my sheet is one that Sam might want to talk mostly about. It was Everton 0, Bournemouth. Let me count this: 1, 2, 3. Bournemouth scored 3 goals in the game and won. And so Sam, take it away.
This was probably our best performance of the whole season. It's definitely the most dominant we've been against another team, and it's probably the poorest performance I've seen from another Premier League team. Like this whole season. I think the only thing that comes close is Aston Villa on the opening day. But even then, Aston Villa were kind of able to keep us out with the 2 goals we got kind of coming from nothing. But Everton were just so poor. Pickford especially, for how brilliant he's been this season, he was so poor the whole game. Something you may not have even seen in the highlights. It's just he always looked shaky on his distribution. He fell over twice. How you manage that, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it was. I would say that's very worrying for Everton because I don't think that's the only time this year we've gone out and dominated another team.
Well, I'll pick up from there, Sam, since you've brought the Villa game into the thing. Obviously, you're impressed with Bournemouth dominating the game at 35% possession. I think, to be fair, Bournemouth, they're overachieving. They have got a game plan where they won't look to progress further forward with a lot of possession, but they'll try and get teams on counter, and they're doing it quite well. They do create a lot of chances, and at least this time they didn't give away the lead. So,
yeah, no, obviously every game we're never going to be a ball dominant side with the talent we have in this squad. I think every game we do go out and we're looking to counter. It's just what Everton were able to do with their possession was a whole lot of nothing. They were just, normally, like at the very least, teams are able to just go wide and get crosses in at the very least against us because we're very willing to just sit narrow and have you come on the outside. But Everton weren't really able to do that. At a point, Seamus Coleman came on. Well, he came on quite early for Mikalenko, and he played left back. So it kind of meant when they were coming forward, he always had to invert onto his right foot. That created an issue for them. But yeah, it was really poor from Everton.
I'm just happy to see Mark Travers. I'm just happy to see Mark Travers do well.
I'm also very happy. It looked quite shaky, was it? Obviously, we brought in Neto, not quite over the top of him because we were willing to give him the starting shirt right at the beginning of the season. But since he's come back from when Neto's been injured, he looked really shaky in a couple of games. So it's really like that Leeds game, especially in the Tottenham game. But it's really good because I don't know what he kind of just last year where he won the Golden Glove in the Championship. He really just grew into it. And it's just so good to see him somewhat get back to that.
Yeah. I think like he's one of the sufferers from the 9-0 to Liverpool. Might have knocked a bunch of his confidence at the time.
Yeah, it was because with that performance, he wasn't even particularly poor. It's just if you've brought in a goalkeeper from Barcelona after a 9-0, you kind of have to give him a run out, don't you?
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate events that keeps him out of the team. So coming back from that could explain the nerves from him in the beginning.
Yeah, I think this Everton game we started to see the old Mark Travers.
Just good from an Ireland perspective.
Yep. Have we got to talk about this next one? Leicester City 2, West Ham United.
Taylor, would you like to take it away?
Again, thankfully, I only saw the highlights of this. I've had a really busy weekend, so I only see the highlights. I didn't have to sit through the 90 minutes. But again, from what I see from the 90 minutes, or from the highlights, sorry, we were poor. We were poor from what I saw. And I don't quite understand what is going on with our team at the moment. We've got so much talent, so much quality in that team. We've got like Brazil's number 9. We've got someone who could be starting up front for Italy in the World Cup. We've obviously got Declan Rice. We've obviously got Bowen as well, who should be going to the World Cup, in my opinion. We've got Ben Rama, who's been our one good player this season. I saw a stat the other day, one of those maps you see on like FM where you have like, all the players. I can't remember what it's called, but or where you have like, all the players and they're all like compared and whatever. And he's up there with like some of the very best for like attacking dribbles per game this season. And so yeah, Ben Rama's been good, but he's been about the only one this season. Skamaka's been decent, but Skamaka's still taking time to get into the team. But from what I saw, it was just too easy for Leicester to beat us, and Leicester aren't exactly great at the moment either. They're getting better. Brendan Rodgers seems to have turned it around a little bit up there, but for us, we've just been poor, and I don't know what you guys think, but I'm not slowly, but not fast. I'm sort of in the middle between getting there to saying Moyes out. I've been a big Moyes defender, but we haven't won that many games in this calendar year, and so with us being second, 2 places above the relegation zone with the team we've had, we shouldn't be there. In my opinion, we should at least be mid-table, and so I think
with the talent you bought too.
Pardon?
I'm saying with the talent you bought, you should be higher in the table. You've added quite a piece of talent like Lucas Paqueta.
Brilliant player. Yeah, we spent like 180, 190 million, something like that. So
your saving grace is the Conference League at the moment.
That is it. That is our saving grace. That is Moyes' saving grace. That might be the one thing that keeps him there for the rest of the season. Plus as well, if I remember rightly, in February or March we can change our owners. We can finally get rid of the 2 Davids without them having to pay profits to like the London Stadium company. So I think that might be saving Moyes as well, that we might be waiting until then to maybe change managers or whatever. But finally, the 10, 12, 200-year nightmare, which felt like, of the 2 Davids being in charge might finally soon be over, and then we can hopefully kick on.
At least you still got the bubbles. You may have lost, but at least you still got the bubbles.
We will always have the bubbles, and that is my rant about West Ham and our season so far gone. But if anyone else has any comments, please do. If anyone else wants to say anything, jump on now.
I just think with Moyes, with the job he did, for the last 2 years, getting you 2 7th place finishes consecutively, I think at the very least you just give him to the end of the season.
Yeah, possibly, I agree. Yeah. I feel like West Ham's last 6 games in all comps, you've only won 2, which have come in the Conference League. Leicester have turned it around, only losing 1 in the last 6, and that was away at home to Man City. And when you come into a game when your team's not really on the best of form and the other team is, you want to try and keep it tight and compact. And letting James Maddison, who's probably one of the most informed players in the Premier League at the minute, to score in the first 8 minutes didn't help. I think him going off injured maybe benefited West Ham because they did have a lot of chances, but again, they only managed to get the same amount of chances on target that Leicester did, even though Leicester had less than half of the amount of shots overall. So I think maybe a bit of confidence there with not taking chances, being a bit wasteful. I think maybe the international break might benefit a few teams, especially the ones that haven't got many players going away, because the managers will be able to work with them on the training ground. But I do feel for Moyes a bit. He has done very well at West Ham the last couple of seasons. Will he get the time to try and turn this around? I think bringing players in from abroad, sometimes they can take a long while to settle. And I think that's showing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get easier. He has Arsenal next.
Yeah. Yeah, Arsenal Boxing Day. I think that game is. I mean, we always get Arsenal on Boxing Day. I've been like 2-3 times to see us play Arsenal on Boxing Day, and it never goes well. But yeah, so it's not going to get any easier. Arsenal, obviously, we're going to talk about them in a minute, but they are bang on form right now. But before we get to that, let's get to their North London rivals and the game of the weekend. Tottenham 4, Leeds United 3. What a mad game of football. Proper FIFA style game of football, this one. And so who wants to go first and talk about this?
I'll go first. It's a mad game. Like, Tottenham are a weird team to me in the last year. They seem to only start playing properly, trying to win in the second half of a game. In the last few matches I've seen them, they've been terrible in the first half, i.e. Bournemouth. They were terrible in that first half.
I enjoyed it.
Suddenly, I know you enjoyed it, Sam. I enjoyed the first half because I'm not a Spurs fan. But they seem to only turn up in the second half when they actually try, and Bentancur gets them out of trouble. He seems to be the one trying to win a game compared to the rest of them at this particular moment. And Leeds are an interest, and this season they've struggled. The fact that, like, we got to question Conte for even being in a position where he has to try and fight to beat Leeds at this particular moment in time, because they've struggled to score goals in the last couple of matches themselves a lot of the time. So to concede 3 goals to that Leeds team is
yeah, you wouldn't expect that from a Conte team, really.
I think, do you know what, we spoke about Tottenham a lot, and I think this was brought up on last week's podcast. The key for Tottenham in this game is they wasn't losing by more than a goal at half time. They were losing 2-1. When they're down by 1, sometimes maybe 2, they can bring it back, but it's more of an uphill battle when you are 2 goals down. I think it was a game where if your name was Rodrigo, you was definitely on the score sheet. It was fairly even, but in the end, I think Tottenham just did enough to pinch it.
I have no clue how Emerson Royale still gets picked.
No, me neither. There was one big moment in that game where he really royally fluffed it up.
Tough crowd.
Yeah, I thought you might like that. Had to be done. I saw that on the highlights, and I was like, I'm hosting the podcast. I'm getting that one in.
Apparently, This Is England apparently wants us to talk about Burnley beating Blackburn. Good on Burnley, my friend.
3-0 to the bastards.
Well done, Burnley. Get into the Premier League, and we'll talk about your games again.
But yes, are getting hammered in the Carabao Cup against United. I'm calling it now after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Just one thing before we move on from the Leeds game. The young lad Somerville for Leeds, he's looking like a right little prospect. He's scored a few goals now in the last few games.
He's very good.
He looks insane. He looks insane. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how he develops over the next couple of years and whatever. Leeds, even though they lost this game, they have got a couple of
Yeah, and
decent players who
that
do.
Italian youngster, Gonto or whatever,
Yeah.
like he looks very good. I've seen him
They
play
do
for
look
Italy
good.
too.
Yeah. All right then, and so moving on to my second Premier League team, Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0. Newcastle having a storming season, even though they haven't spent as much as what we all thought they might. But and they've of course beaten Chelsea. Chelsea really struggling, and Newcastle under Eddie Howe doing really really well. I really like watching Newcastle again these days.
Yeah, Newcastle are doing very well, and this is England trying to claim Vincent Kompany for manager of all the English this year. Eddie Howe might have a thing or two to say about that at this particular moment in time, because he's doing very well with the Newcastle team. Almiron is just sensational recently. He's number one in anyone's fantasy team at the moment. Unlikely scorer this time in Joe Willock. But they get the job done against the poor Chelsea side.
They very much missed Callum Wilson, I think, Newcastle. This had to be one of the most boringest games of the Saturday, I feel. It was very much all a midfield battle. The chances were very few and far between that were on target. I think for both teams there were only 5. And, I mean, Newcastle are doing very well. Chelsea just not doing the best at the minute, and I think Newcastle snatched the win.
Yeah, it was 3 shots on target for Newcastle, 2 for Chelsea.
Yeah, not the most exciting game of football you're ever going to see.
50-50 for possession, basically.
Yep. But yes, as soon as that game was so dull, let's just brush over that and let's go on to what was the last game of the weekend, but we're going to talk about it now. Fulham 1, Manchester United 2. A young Portuguese stealing the headlines or a young Portuguese making the headlines and then having the headlines stolen by another Portuguese.
Argentinian.
And so, Manchester United 2.
Actually,
he's a young Argentinian born in Spain.
Oh, he's Argentinian, is he? Sorry.
Yeah, he declared for Argentina, but he is born in Spain. But Alejandro Garnacho. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's how little I know about him so far. I've had one look at him on FM. I've not noticed his nationality. I thought he was Portuguese, but apparently not. I should know that.
He's a Ronaldo fanboy. That's as close as he is to Portuguese.
Yeah. But
it was a game. Well. It was a game of basically we were United. We were very good in the first half. We could have scored, made it 2-0. Eriksen missed a chance to make it 2-0. It was a chance that he should have scored, didn't, and we went in 1-0. And then in the second half, Fulham showed the Fulham that they have been for most of the season, a very tough team to beat in the second half. They pressured us a lot. They scored the goal. In the second half, we were just not on it. And with the pace of Dan James, it hurts me that he scored again after being an player, seeing poor little Dan James, the Flash, score against. So at least he didn't celebrate, really. So that's nice of him. But we just when we made the substitute by taking off Alanga and putting on Scott McTominay, that substitute wasn't really working.
That was what changed the game, right?
Yeah, and Bruno going to the right. Bruno is not very good on the right as he is in attacking midfield. So that was just a very questionable decision.
Yeah, before the 55th minute, Man U was in charge of the game. When they took off Alanga, they lost the pace out wide.
Yeah, because we put Bruno to the wing, which is not. He's never good. And then Bruno loses the ball on that wing to set up the Dan James goal scorer. And it looked like this could be the first time United dropped points from winning positions. And going into that, where it very much looked like Fulham could win the game at that point. And then out of nowhere, a good pass 1-2 between Eriksen and Garnacho. He runs in and scores a beautiful finish. Like for a kid that young to have that calm and composure in that moment.
Not
and
just
he
the
runs
finish though, but the run
Yeah,
before to get the ball
the
back.
desire to get in that for the winner that late into the game. And the celebrations told the full story that everyone was like happy for him. He like held up his own shirt as well.
It's the first time for probably 5 seasons I've seen Manchester United produce a move that probably Manchester City or Barcelona would produce.
You can tell this season more so when like Ronaldo's not there. We'll get into Ronaldo later, but when Ronaldo's not in the team, the more unity at the moment from these players. They're all, when they make a clearance, when the routine save, everyone's going up to David De Gea, high-fiving, hugging each other. When Martinez does a block and stuff, you can see they're all together. They're all cheering each other on, celebrating even simplest things that they're doing with each other. That's the one thing Ten Hag has done since the 4-0 at Brentford. He's brought a togetherness with the main group of players and bringing people into it, which is, you can see that improvement.
I think that's really amplified by the signings he made and the characters those people are. Because Martinez and Malacia especially are just like so passionate and like big energy every time they play. And that just, it like, especially as a supporter watching, you kind of just will them on that bit more. And you just enjoy it more when you see people like that playing for you.
Yeah, and it's emphasized from when we played Chelsea, like the passion of Casemiro celebrating that last minute that equalizer that he did in that one.
Yeah, was like, and Eriksen as well, not necessarily the big passion as the other three, but again, just another character that you can't help but like. And he's
such a likable story,
yeah.
Eriksen, from where
I could imagine if those 4 came into my team, they're just people who you just have to root for and you just enjoy watching so much. And Anthony as well, he's like, it's a bit of a little shit house and it's so fun.
Yeah. And Martinez has really brought when Varane is fit, he's brought the best out of Varane. Varane looks more like the Real Madrid version of Varane than he had been with any other centre-back when he's next to Martinez and his energy.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they probably brought the best out of both of them because when Martinez wasn't starting with Varane at the start of the season, that was when Man U was shocking. That was up until they lost to Brentford 4-0, and then they started Varane again alongside Martinez. I think they probably brought out the best in both of each other.
Yeah, you can only say that this game mostly showed that United, we need more squad depth. Like we don't really have like options when your only choice is to bring Elanga off and bring Bruno in there is not the right one. And you can clearly tell we need a right back to the fact that we clearly don't trust Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And we're playing a left back in right back. And that's what Fulham targeted from most of that game, that right-hand side. And Malacia, because he wasn't in tune with that game. And we desperately need a backup right back for when Dalot is not, when suspended or not available.
Has Wan-Bissaka even got like Europa League minutes this year?
No. Every time we needed to play a right back, we played Malacia, the right back.
I see.
Okay, so that is Man United done. That is so we've talked about Man U, we've talked about Bournemouth, we've talked about West Ham. Why don't we talk about the other team that we've got a fan of on today? So Brighton 1, Aston Villa 2. Decent game again from what I saw. A decent result for Villa.
Good evening.
So what do we all think of that? Evening indeed.
Yeah, good evening. I mean, it wasn't the best game, to be fair. We started pretty slowly. We've trying to play out from the back, and with Tyrone Mings and Konza at centre back, I don't think we've got the players to do that personally. But obviously, that's the way the manager wants to go. That put us under pressure early on, and we conceded a very quick goal from our own downfalls. Brighton had a lot of the possession, but could not do anything with it. They didn't create hardly anything. We managed to put some decent moves together towards the end of the first half and the start of the second half. We ended up getting our 2 goals, and from when the second goal went in, about 5 minutes after that, it was defensive changes. We ended up playing with a back 7, 3 or 4 in front of them, and we just closed down the game. So I think that's our first away win of the season. So I think the manager was vital on getting the points.
That's the main issue with Brighton, is that they don't really have. They create a lot of chances, but they don't really have that goal scorer that can finish a lot of them.
They didn't really create that many chances. I think that we had more.
Yeah,
chances
but they need for the chances they create, they need a goal scorer that can put 1 or 2 of them in.
I do feel like as well, what may have affected the game is Brighton and Aston Villa both had sickness bugs running through the team.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many players that they was missing, but they were missing.
You can't really rely on Danny Welbeck to be scoring your goals at this point in his career.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I've commented on I've commentated on a few Brighton games this season, and that is the one thing I've always been left from their games saying is that they make decent chances, but they just haven't got a striker to put them in the back, put them in the back of the net. But that is the one thing they need to go and get in January if they can. They need to go and get that decent striker. I don't know who or where they get it, but they do need to get a striker just to finish off their moves, and then they should be. And then they might be able to recapture their form they had earlier on in the season.
Yeah, I think they hoped that Dennis Undav, who was on loan in the Belgium league last year and got 26 goals, could maybe become that for them, but that's not materialised at all. And then for Brighton, you're in the tough position of, they'd kind of be shopping at like the 10 to 20 million mark. Does a striker who can come in and get those goals exist at that price range?
Probably not these days.
It'd have to be a very young raw talent to be that price.
Yeah. So you do maybe worry that Brighton's early good start to the season might just peter out, and they might just go back to their well, I don't want to say natural position, because no team's got a natural position, but the position where you'd expect them to be, sort of like mid-table, upper half of the bottom half of the table, something around there maybe.
Yeah, I think come the end of the season they'll probably end up mid-table.
Yeah, it's looking like that. It is looking like that, and so just before we move on to the main part of tonight's episode, let's just brush over the last 2 games that we haven't talked about. Top of the table, Arsenal beating Wolves 2-0, and Nottingham Forest getting up. Top beat bottom. That's me hoping Arsenal were bottom. Arsenal 2, Wolves 0, and Forest 1, Palace 0. So anybody got any thoughts on either, both,
Wolves
or those games?
Wolves at the moment they have no identity. Hopefully, Lacazette can give them some identity. That's my main criticism for Wolves in the last few games. They look like a team that doesn't really know what they're trying to do.
I actually watched the Wolves Arsenal game, and I thought that Arsenal would have would have made it easier for themselves. Their main chances fell to Gabriel Jesus, who at the minute isn't in form. I think Wolves had 2 great chances from Gonzalo Guedes and the lad that they played up front, and they never took their 2 chances. Adama Traore was sorry. Obviously, we all know what Adama Traore's finishing is like, but they never took their chances. I think if they could have took one of them chances at the time when the game was still 1-0 or even 0-0, it could have been different. But
perhaps Adama needed more grease to score.
But yeah, routine win for Arsenal.
Yep.
And in the other game, I just think with Forest, they're coming with a few decent results. Probably from this league result, probably was inspired from the Cup 2-0 win against Spurs. I'll inspire them to continue that going on for a result against Palace.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game. I've seen a couple of highlights. Palace controlled possession, but wasteful with their chances. 8 shots, none on target. Forest did a Bournemouth, 30-odd% possession. took a couple of their chances.
The way football should be played.
Steve Bruce style football, isn't it?
Yeah, Forest got lucky there because obviously Wilfred Zaha missed his penalty, but outside of that, Palace didn't look too threatening.
No, awful penalty from Zaha.
He misses about half the ones he takes. I don't know why he's still on him.
Because there's no one else there who's particularly good at him either, I think.
It's because he's like their quote-unquote biggest name at Palace. The starman, so he just takes it.
Yeah. Yeah, until he agrees a contract to go somewhere else in January, which is looking like that's going to happen.
He wants to, like, he's rumored, like, he wanted to go the last few seasons. It just never happened.
Yeah, I think if he'd have had the chance to go somewhere else, he would have.
And then Forrest's goal had to be helped by VAR correcting a decision.
Yeah,
that was originally ruled
I did see
offside.
that. It was tight. Yeah.
We can't have a weekend without fire popping its head up at least once.
At least once. It's got to. It's normally against us taking half hour just to somehow prove that we haven't scored a goal somehow by some way. But yeah, we all good. And everyone all good with this weekend's games.
Yeah, just on the VAR, we had a very big moment for us. We had our first one, which went to the telly. Was it that popped up on the screen? Our first VAR decision go our way. Box. Yeah, we had our first VAR decision go our way. It was a very big moment for us.
Wow,
I know.
We
had a possible red card, and they gave it as a yellow. I was ecstatic. It was bigger than the win.
All right then. All right, so now let's get on to the main part of the show and the reason Sam is here with us tonight. There have been a lot of rumours, nothing obviously confirmed as of yet, but as of recording, as of streaming, as of whatever we're doing here tonight, Bielsa is the big name who is linked to be taken over at Bournemouth. A little bit out of the blue, I've got to say. I wasn't really expecting it before the rumours came in. We have all had a little bit of a chat just before we started tonight, and we had a little bit of a chat about this. But yeah, Bielsa to Bournemouth. Sam, what's your thoughts on it? Would you take him? Do you think he'll suit your type of football and suit your team?
Yeah, just initially, it's just the excitement around the name being brought up, because I think especially it's amplified more by the fact that there weren't really any standout candidates like going. I think that you were looking at it and you're like, our best option here is just to stick with Gary O'Neill, mainly just because you look around and at least out of the names we thought we could get it, there was no one. But Bielsa coming up, just the way he plays football, it'd be, as like a match-going fan, it would just be something to be so excited for.
It was David Ornstein that released it out of nowhere, just dropped an article.
Yeah,
they were exploring the possibility.
Yeah, was it? Obviously, we have a new owner coming in Bill Foley, with his consortium, and the noises coming out from him is that he wants Bournemouth to be like a bigger club, have more than 10 people go to the games. He really wants to build us into a bigger entity. And I think pretty much we all knew that as much as a lot of us would like Gary O'Neill permanently, the kind of guy he is and the noises coming out, we were always going to go for an external appointment. And I'm just really happy with the name that's come up.
Yeah. I think if he is your takeover been completed yet?
It's not been completed, but we're at the point where it's meant to be finalised this month, is what they're saying, and it's the talks between Bielsa there with Bill Foley, the guy who's going to come in.
Yeah.
So it's pretty far along.
Okay. I think if Bielsa does come in, it'll be a good appointment name-wise. I think he's a great manager, technically.
His games are usually very entertaining.
Yeah. I do worry that his style of play in the Premier League can be quite exposing. You do need to have very fit players. I know that Sam brought it up just before we started about their pressing, but I don't think anybody does press like a Bielsa team. Do I think it's the right way for them to go? From my point of view, I'm not sure. I think that O'Neill has done a really good job since he's been in there, and I think Bournemouth, from my point of view, not from everybody's, are overachieving. It would be nice for the new owners to come in and expand the ground, expand the team, expand like the whole club to make them bigger, not just a yo-yo side between the Premier League and the Championship, maybe come up and be an established team. But I think that's going to take time, just like anybody that is in that position. I mean, Norwich have been trying to do it for 10 years now, I think. But definitely exciting.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing around this appointment. It's just excitement more than anything, because the way he plays football, the name, it's very Hollywood for Bournemouth, and it's very exciting.
You don't know what you get from the Bielsa, because I watched when he was at Leeds. You don't know, he would either get smashed or he'd smash a team each week.
I definitely think he'll have over 35% possession in games, though. So,
well, I don't know if I want to go to that. I like not having any of the ball. That's fine.
Although even with Bielsa, obviously this is England, says that Burnley's second team could beat most of the Premier League teams. Yeah. He's going, especially Aston Villa. FM King is what he's saying in there.
Yeah, I don't know what this is England's been eating or drinking, but
it's clearly a fan of Burnley.
Clearly, that is it. But I know I've been warned, or I've been said that I'm a little bit over optimistic about West Ham. But even I won't go that mental about my team.
I actually know who this is, and he has said to me when they get promoted, they're going to win the Premier League next season. So
I'll be putting precisely no pounds on that. But Bielsa. I'd be excited. I'd be excited if he was coming in to my club, West Ham. I'd be excited. I can see why you're excited, but I do just worry that, even though you did mention, Sam, before we started, like King said, about the pressing, about how you already press quite a lot, but I do think Bielsa is going to ask you to press quite a bit more than what you do already, and I do just worry that. I do just worry that he might try and do that all at first, and it might go wrong, very quickly. Whereas I think with Leeds, he had a bit of time to build. He had a little bit of time to sort of grow the team into that, with them being in the Championship. But if he's taken over a team that's in the Premier League and mainly will be looking to stay in the league, I worry that if it goes wrong and you go down, if he will still be given the time to build it up again. And so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to see. It is going to be fun to see. But also, I think it's important as well to see when he comes in, because you've obviously said that the takeover is supposed to be happening this month. I think he needs to come in before the January window. I think he needs that January window to try and bring in some of his own players, because there is quite a bit of improvement that does need to be made to that Bournemouth squad. And I do think that Bielsa needs to be able to bring in his own players rather than him coming in midway through the month or after January, and then he hasn't got his own players for the rest of the season.
I think also, if it can be done earlier on this month, the more time he's got while they're on international break, the better of implementing his style of football on the training field. That would be massive as well. If it drags on this takeover into December, and he only has a couple of weeks, and then he's got to implement this massive different style of football, I think that could be massive as well. The longer he gets while they're on international break.
Yeah, there were talks of, first of all, that there's been talks of potential targets already, and if he were to come in, what is being said is that we'd want the 5 weeks, but was it like from like now to the world, like till coming back for Newcastle away in the League Cup, and that I think that is kind of a condition for him, that he'd have to have that time from now to the World Cup. So I think if the appointment's going to be made, it's going to be made very soon. Because I think the only way he comes, because I think the sounds coming out is that he believes he could get this team playing somewhat in his image over that time. But I don't know if he'd be willing to take the job if we'd like started playing again.
Yeah, it's pretty much another pre-season really for the next few weeks for most teams who haven't got 99% of their squad going over to the World Cup. So if you can get him in, that is obviously going to give him a bonus few weeks that he wouldn't normally have at this time of the year to maybe get your team playing in his image and get them ready for, like you say, Newcastle and obviously going forward into January and all of that good stuff. Yep, we all done on Bournemouth. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, I think I've spoke my piece.
I think we'll if we carry on, we'll be the time limit we spent on them will be bigger than the club itself, won't it? So.
All right then. So irons now the big bit. It's now the second big bit we want to talk about. Like I said earlier in the introductions, we've got a certain Portuguese guy wanting out of a certain club from the northwest of England. It is Cristiano Ronaldo wanting to get out of a little club of playing red called Manchester United, and Piers Morgan causing trouble.
I'm still not having that. I'm still not having that.
Yeah, Piers Morgan causing trouble. Who knew? And so Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, I'm guessing all you three have seen most, if not all, of the clips that have come out and have read the bits as well. And just, I can't believe he's doing it. I can't believe he's doing it this time of year.
The timing was very calculated. He's going to the World Cup. He won't be there for repercussions in the beginning. He released it it was released when we won a game at the very last minute, which took away from Garnacho. It's very much he clearly wants to leave, and this is his way of forcing the issue from United's end. United had the power, and he's trying to get it back by trying to get some people on the side to let him leave. And it's a very petty thing to also in the interview to bring up Wayne Rooney's criticism of you. I felt that was like
I was going to bring really
petty, and then bringing up that I'm better looking than Wayne Rooney. Like,
I'm sorry, but that's obvious. Most
Piers
people
are. Piers Morgan said Ronaldo asked him to do it. This is true, but it's very calculated why he chose Piers Morgan, because Piers Morgan is clearly a Ronaldo fanboy.
Oh yeah.
At this point, so he would not say anything against what Ronaldo came out in the interview and said. He would not question him or anything. He would just accept it and move on to the next, letting Ronaldo get this off his chest. Ronaldo chose Piers Morgan especially.
I don't know. It was in the paper that Piers Morgan absolutely slated Ronaldo. I actually stand with Ronaldo on this, and I understand what Boom's saying that it may have been timed specifically, and I think this had to be done at a certain time because it weren't going to be done halfway through the season. But I don't necessarily think that it's because Ronaldo's trying to force a move. Man U wanted to sell him in the summer, and nobody could buy him.
He wanted to go.
No, I don't think he did.
No, the leaks came out from his camp that he wanted to go before United were ever looking to sell him.
Nah, he's not. He's not fitted into the system.
He's not fitted into the system, but he very much wanted to go to a Champions League club. His camp was the first one. His agent was the first one that mentioned anything about him moving the club before United ever mentioned anything.
Well, he's not going to want to sit around and not be a big part player, is he? Would you expect one of the
He
best
wants to
players in
be
the world
Champions
for the
League.
last 28 years to sit
No,
on
I'm
your
not.
bench?
I'm saying at the beginning he wanted the Champions League. I saw no problem with him wanting to go to a Champions League club at the time. But the way he's handled himself this season is completely unprofessional and disrespectful. You can't come out in an interview and say, I have no respect for my manager and expect anything good to come out of that.
Well, I mean, maybe,
I agree with him on certain points.
We want players to be open and honest in the press.
No, I agree.
I'm not being funny, but if you're working for an employer and that employer has no respect for you, are you going to respect that employer? He doesn't. He obviously doesn't have respect.
The evidence
he was
is
the
there.
third top goal scorer in the Premier League last season, and Manchester United's top goal scorer in the Premier League.
King, what you don't realize, we very much respect. Most managers would have kicked him out longer when he stormed out. We brought him back instantly. He made him captain. Every time the media questioned Ronaldo, Ten Hag has ultimately defended him and said it's not just Ronaldo that did, like in preseason when he left. He kept saying it wasn't just Ronaldo that left, multiple people left, and I wasn't happy with the team, not just Ronaldo. He was very much in every press conference saying he likes Ronaldo. He's part of the plan. Whether the plan was to use him as the backup, it's still part of a plan. But Ten Hag has been respectful in a way to Ronaldo. Ronaldo has not reciprocated the respect because Ronaldo has this image. Because his career has been so great, Ronaldo wants to be the main person. When he's not the main person, he wants to become that again. And he can't have that at United anymore. And he wants to leave. But the way he's going about it, it could have been ended behind closed doors and just say, I want to go. You're forcing me out anyway. I want to go. Doing this way and saying I have no respect publicly is just tarnishing your relationship with. You claim to love the fans, and he claims to love the fans. He said it in the interview too, that he loves United fans. There's a better way to do this. If you show true love for that, to not mention the manager that the fans are behind at the moment. All the fans that you speak to, that I've spoken to, are behind Eric Ten Hag. And to say that you don't have respect for him is not showing that you love the fans.
I don't think it's anything to do with the fans. I think his criticisms of the club and the staff and the board members.
He mentions he loves the fans in the interview, and by saying you've no respect for the manager that the fans were all behind and that every fan wanted him over Poch.
There's actually been some fans on Sky Sports today that are saying they would rather Ronaldo be there. So I don't think I don't think this is about the fans. This is about Ronaldo and the way he feels treated with the board members, senior board members.
Yeah, he could have just mentioned the board members. What I'm saying, if he just mentioned the board members and the Glazers, we all know the Glazers are bad for the club. Everyone knows, every United fan doesn't like the Glazers. We know what they've done. We know there's no investment. All of that I fully agree with in his interview, saying there's no top facilities. The club isn't run a recruitment as good as any of the top sides to compete. I fully agree with that. But when you start mentioning disrespect, you don't respect the manager or anything, that's when the interview goes completely pear-shaped and ruins, and I've lost all respect for him. Based on that.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough, because you're a Man U fan and you're always going to defend your team. But he's being open and honest with the way he feels, and if he feels treated unfairly or not treated with respect by his manager, who is there to do a job, then he's not going to show respect back. There's also a thing on Sky Sports tonight that's just been released that in another bit of the press conference that he's done with Piers Morgan, 2 alleged senior members of staff at Old Trafford treated him with suspicion when he said his daughter Bella was sick with bronchitis just 3 months after his twin brother had died. So
that is bad and stuff but I could potentially, I wouldn't have doubted him when he said he was on that. But when reports come out that you wanted to leave and suddenly you don't show up, I could see why in the beginning they might have, but that should have been solved by him saying they should have accepted it when he said he was at the hospital for over a week, and if they didn't, then that's wrong.
Yeah.
But
I understand that you say that he wants to go to play Champions League football, and a player of his caliber obviously will be wanting to play Champions League football in his later years of his career, but also Manchester United wanted to get rid of him because he wasn't part of their plans. And they did try and get rid of him to numerous clubs, but wanted the £15 million that they'd spent on him to bring him
That's
in.
the Glazers wanted the 15 million.
Yeah, and that's why they couldn't get rid of him.
Chelsea
wanted to buy him.
He also refused to take a pay cut, which is why
Chelsea also wanted to buy him.
Chelsea were the only, but we didn't want to sell to a direct rival.
Yeah.
In top 6.
So if
it was more the thing he wanted to leave, but we wanted it to go on our terms, and that's why it was like it was never going.
And this is why the situation is where it is at now. Because if you'd have just let the player go, the player that you never really
everyone said that. Everyone said that in the summer, but like he stayed, and when you stay at the club, you could have moved in January. The thing, it's just an awkward time to bring all this up now. I agree with some points of the interview, but like I said, there are certain points in that interview that I'm like, this didn't need to be said publicly.
I also think, with his comments on Ralf Rangnick, especially, I think was him coming out and being like, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know why he was managing Manchester United. And seemingly, obviously, we don't have the full interview, leaving out the context that he was a stopgap and he was a caretaker manager seems quite peculiar. And I think that his clear lack of respect for Ralf Rangnick when he speaks about him makes me very doubtful that the relationship between him and Erik ten Hag and him going, I have no respect for him, is actually warranted on good basis.
I think he's very upset about what's happened. I think when he came in now at the start of 2 seasons ago, was it, when he came back, Ronaldo was obviously promised certain things. Because to bring in a guy of Ronaldo's caliber, when Man U are in the
promised certain things by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Well, by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, probably technical directors at the time, because not the transfers and contracts aren't done by just the manager. Managers nowadays are normally head coaches.
Yeah, but everyone knows at the time, like we were.
He was probably promised certain things.
Fletcher and stuff is not the correct, but I don't agree with Fletcher being that high in position.
A lot of them promises haven't been probably followed through, and then he stuck around and tried to help last season. He people are saying like he's absolutely terrible now. Last season he was the 3rd top goal scorer in the Premier League.
No, last season it was him and De Gea that stopped us from having a complete train wreck of the season. I fully agree with that. Last season,
and I think you can tell that something's obviously really wrong this season from the way that he's playing, the way that he's just not contributing in games. You can tell when a player is having some problems off the field, behind the scenes. It normally goes like this, and I feel like he will go to the World Cup this year, and Portugal will probably have a good World Cup, and Ronaldo will be key to that. And maybe we won't find out everything what goes on, because you never do, because it's obviously behind the scenes. But I think
there's something definitely odd to the fact that the rest of the squad seems very happy, apart from Ronaldo. The whole squad seems to be together. They're all bubbly, and you can see that in games, apart from Ronaldo. Seems to be disconnected from that this season.
Yeah,
I think with Ronaldo, I think it's clear, like, that his comments about, like, senior members of staff, maybe, that's probably warranted, maybe, with, like, the interactions he's had with them. But I think it's when you start bringing up, like, Wayne Rooney, it's when you start bringing up Ralf Rangnick, and it's when you start saying, I have no respect for your current manager, that's where I have an issue with it. It's not when he's talking about how Man United as an institution isn't as good as it should be. It's not being improved as it should be.
Because those comments we all agree with. Like if you speak to every United fan, us not being an institution, everyone would say, yes, we're not a good institution at the moment.
It's for me, it's how he's talked about individual people who seemingly haven't been an issue. Like Ralf Rangnick, Wayne Rooney especially, there is no reason why he should be bad-mouthing those two in this interview.
Yeah. And Ralf actually came out and criticized the owners and everything himself and how it was run each press conference.
Yeah, I just think it's bizarre that he'd come out and speak about individuals like that. I think for the most part, everyone agrees with his points on the club as a whole. Most people aren't too fond of like the senior directors, like the directors of football and such. So I think if he just kept it to that and not brought up individuals who he had no reason to be talking about in that interview, he'd probably have a lot more public support. But I think he is doing this interview with the intention to burn that bridge and maybe like have his contract mutually terminated. I think he really desperately wants out, and that's why he's done it.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does, and you can tell that. And yeah, I agree. No, I agree with everyone else. His comments about the club not being run properly, not being invested in, that's all fair enough. But it is when you bring out things like that comment about Rooney, that wasn't needed. That wasn't necessary. But also, I don't know if it's Ronaldo being in his little bubble or whatever that he must be in for him to say that he doesn't know who Ralph Rangnick is, because I think yes he's not maybe he's not known like as much as other managers, but he was known before he went to Man U. I think a lot of people would have known who he was, at least on some surface level. And so for Ronaldo to come out and say, "Oh, I don't know who he is," that maybe shows a little bit of like, I don't know, not in a bad way, but a little bit of like ignorance, where he's just closed in to his little circle. And so that maybe explains why he said he didn't know who Rangnick is. And that's not good, because if you're going into a football team or someone else is coming into your football team, you should want to do the research and want to find out who they are and how they might fit in with you. And also his comments about not having respect for Ten Hag, that again goes a little bit to that, I think, because everyone knows what a good job Ten Hag did at Ajax. He deserves respect for what he did over at Ajax, and so for him to come out and say, "Oh, I don't respect the manager. I'm not this. I'm not that." He's a manager. It doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter how much you're getting paid. You should respect him. You should at least start on that footing of oh, I respect you. And then if it goes wrong after that, then maybe it goes wrong after that. But the only thing I can see that Ten Hag has done wrong in Ronaldo's eyes is not playing Ronaldo every game. But Ronaldo, at the age he is now, he can't play 90 minutes in the way that Ten Hag wants to play football. And so I do think he wants. I do think he definitely wants out. And this is his way of trying to get it. It's not the right way of doing it.
It's clearly this is his way of getting back to get out, and this is his way, because there's no way to fix this relationship at this point. When you say you have no respect for the manager, this is the end point. This is the end game of this situation.
One thing there, just to butt in, sorry. He didn't just come out and say, "I don't respect Ten Hag." His comments actually was, "Ten Hag doesn't respect me, so I don't respect him."
Which I can show many evidence throughout the season of him respecting Ronaldo. The way he comes across.
But you might be able to show things what you think is him respecting him. But from behind the scenes, like on a day-to-day basis, obviously Ronaldo feels like he's not being shown a level of respect. And generally, as a person to person, I'm a manager in my job, yeah? If I don't respect my members of staff, how are they going to respect me? And how am I going to get the best possible work out of them? I'm not going to get that, am I?
Yeah, but the reason why I doubt that
there's things done in the media to be put into the media so people think things.
Yeah, but King, the reason why I doubt Ronaldo's not been respected claims is that if you listen to every other player at United talk about Erik ten Hag, it's all positive things that he's done and how much he cares and talks to them each week. The only one that has ever said anything negative that he doesn't respect me is Ronaldo himself.
Well, we haven't heard Wan-Bissaka's story yet, have we? So I'd love to get his perspective on it.
That'll be by next week with Piers Morgan.
The ones that I'm not being funny, but the ones that are in the first team, the ones that are in the first team and getting picked, and he's got his arm round, because it looks like he has got his favourite first 11 and couple of subs. They're gonna be all over him and licking his arse. they're gonna
But
come
even
out
certain
and say
players
he's
that got
doing this and
dropped.
he's doing that. But I'd like to hear from some of the others that aren't getting in the
Even
team.
some
and
of them
being
that got
frozen
dropped
out.
have praised him and stuff. Like the only ones that, like, you could get, like, the two people that have been frozen out pretty much is Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Phil Jones. They're the two players that have been frozen.
Yeah,
Phil Jones has been sent
out since
he's been sent with the
last
kids.
Ice Age.
But Phil Jones has been sent to play with just the kids the most of. That's where he's training with.
Yeah, wasn't there the game earlier in the season? It might have been. It might have been a Brentford game. It was one of the games where Man U got beat quite badly, and Ten Hag said. Ten Hag was asked, why didn't he bring on Ronaldo? And he said, because I've got too much respect for his career.
That was the 6-3 loss to Man City.
Yeah.
We were already down like 5-1 at the time, and when we lost 6-3, he said he didn't bring him on out of respect because we were already
too much respect for him.
He didn't want to ruin his legacy at that point to have a 6-3 loss to Man City on his record.
All right, and anyone else got anything more to add before we get FM King and Crazy Boom in a boxing ring together? Everyone else on YouTube and Twitch is doing boxing matches these days. You two might as well.
Yeah,
listen, we have to agree to disagree most of the time, so we might have to settle this in the ring.
We'll have the England versus
I'll be
the
ref.
Magna Sam can commentate, We'll do
Yeah.
You're all sorted. That's our podcast next week for the 51st episode.
Exactly.
Who are we gonna get ring girls?
We'll find.
We'll sort something.
We'll put an ad out.
Yeah. But anyone else got anything more to add until I let you all go?
No, I think I've said most of them.
Yeah, I feel like I've said my piece on this.
Yeah, I don't want to upset Boom anymore. I don't think. Just I feel like we watched Ronaldo in the World Cup. And prove it then.
I mean, we did good. We had both sides of the argument. King, like we devil's advocate, we had both sides.
Your mic's on mute.
This is England has said that he wants to add that Burnley will beat you all next season, and Man United in the League Cup. I will come back to this. This is England when we smash you.
Give me a minute. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah. Mr. Burnley will make Europe next season.
I definitely want some of what he's having. But anyway. But anyway, I shall let all you guys go. But just before I do, let's go round as I can see you on the screens. So, Magna Sam, where can we find you on social media or for content or anything like that?
Magna Sam on everything except YouTube, where it's Magna FM.
Yeah, mate. Go and subscribe. Have you got a series going yet this year?
No, I've not got a series. I'm just doing individual videos. Did one about Haaland in the non-league, which become a bit relevant today.
Might come to reality.
But yeah, no, I've not got an overriding series yet. No.
Okay, cool. All right, and Crazy Boom, where can people find you?
Crazy Boom, 2 underscores on both Twitter and Twitch, and Boompool on YouTube. Nice,
mate. Nice. FM King.
Can find me at FM King on Twitter and FM King 007 on Twitch.
Nice. Yep, and you can find me, TaylorMade Gaming, over on YouTube. I'm just about to start an Almirante Brown series on YouTube as well, hence the shirt, this beautiful Almirante shirt. So that's starting this week on YouTube. And I'm also blogging about it as well over on the FM Hub website. So please do check all that out. And on Twitter, I'm Taylor M Gaming because apparently TaylorMade Gaming is too long for Twitter. Who knew? And so, that is it for this week. It was supposed to be a mini podcast, but it's gone just about as long as a normal podcast. So, Jono, sorry, fella. Sorry, boss man. He's not going to be happy. But, oh, well, you leave me in charge for 1 week. This is what happens. And so anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, listening, whatever you have done, however you've interacted with us. Thank you for all the comments over on YouTube, Twitch, and anything else. Thank you so much. And we're back on Thursday for a World Cup preview. So please do join us then for that. And we shall all catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
The RTL Football Podcast, now live on Twitch and on YouTube at 8 p.m. UK time on Thursdays.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.